towards your lungs. So you already took this up. We will be briefly reviewing the cardiac muscle or the heart per se. So the layers of the heart are composed of your endocardium, myocardium, and your epicardium. So what is this? What slide is this? Obviously, it's the heart. So, as I said, there are three layers, your endo, myo, and the epicardium. So the endocardium is the innermost layer. This is your endocardium. It is composed of your endothelium, the middle layer, which is composed of your connective tissue and smooth muscle cell. And what is important of the subendocardial layer? Anybody? What is important structure found in your subendocardial layer? It's here. It serves as a conducting system of the heart. So that's one of the important thing found in your endocardial layer. So for the Purkinje fibers are modified cardiac muscle. They are larger fiber compared to your cardiac muscle, but fewer in myofibrils, making them paler in appearance in comparison to that of the cardiac muscle. So the myocardium is composed of your, basically the bulk of your cardiac muscle. And the epicardium, or the visceral layer of your serous pericardium, is a single mesothelial layer. It's not visible in this slide. So at the area of the great vessels, the epicardium is reflected back, thus forming your parietal layer of serous pericardium. So in between your visceral and your parietal pericardium, there is a potential space which is filled with what?
Phone. Could you give the phone number to
What fluid?
Thank you.
Pericardial fluid. What's the importance of that potential space?
Popular.
In what condition? Pericarditis. What else? In tamponade. So that's one of the important consideration. If you have abnormality in your, there is an abnormal accumulation of fluid or blood in your potential space or your pericardial space. So this is another view of your cardiac muscle. Again, as a review, it is intermediate in size in comparison to that of your smooth and your skeletal muscle. It is short, branching, arranged end-to-end that forms a practically continuous network. So, how about the nuclei? Where can it be found? Central or peripheral? Centrally located. How about the myofibrils? They are peripherally located. So, because of the large amount of glycogen, that's why the cardiac muscle gives the certain characteristic color and feature. So this is a high power view of your cardiac muscle. By the way, what's that being pointed at? Intercalated disc. So very good. Remember that for your practical exam in histology. So after we review the heart, we now go to the cardiac skeleton. So it is composed of what parts? There are 4 fibrous rings and 2 trigones and your membranous part of the interventricular septum. Take note that your membranous part of the interventricular septum is devoid of cardiac muscle. So basically, that's the structural organization of cardiac muscle. The trigone connects your rings. So there are two trigones, which I mentioned earlier, your right and your left, which connects the veins. So let's now take a look on the organization of blood vessels in general. So there are three layers of the blood vessels. What are they?
Intima, media, adventitia.
Intima, media, and adventitia. So basically, in comparing your arteries and your veins, there are certain characteristics like the thickest part of the artery are the tunica media, while in the veins, they are the tunica adventitia. So basically, your tunica intima has three layers. What are these? Composed of your endothelium, the connective tissue layer, and the subendothelial layer.
I think
What is
hindi ko ba
an important structure found in your intima, tunica intima, is your internal elastic lamina, and it is in the outermost component of your intima. Certain characteristic of the internal elastic lamina is that it has many fenestrations. What's the purpose of that? Okay. For diffusion of substances. So for the tunica media, it is basically composed of your smooth muscle. How are they arranged? Circularly arranged. And in between the smooth muscles are your what? Is it collagen? It is elastin. It's the elastic membrane. So the external elastic membrane, it separates your tunica media from your tunica adventitia. So basically, it is the outermost part of your tunica media. So the tunica adventitia is, how is it arranged, the collagenous tissue? Is it circular? More or less, it is longitudinally arranged. It has few elastic fiber, and you can find the vasa vasorum and the nervi vasorum in your tunica adventitia in general. So what is this? Identify specimen. So this is the aorta. The endothelial lining of your aorta has the endothelial cells. What are Weber palate bodies? What does it secrete? And there are two. Okay, what's the purpose of your von Willebrand factor? For platelet aggregation. How about your P-selectin? So you have to know that. So mainly, the aorta is basically the thickest part of your aorta is the tunica media. And what are these white structures in between your smooth muscle? Anybody? I heard somebody answering. It is? Yeah, it's elastin. So in between the smooth muscles are the elastin. So they are the elastic laminae. So I already emphasized the arrangement of the smooth muscle, which are circularly arranged. Are fibroblasts present? No. So the average number of smooth muscle layers in the aorta is about 40 layers. And one of the characteristics of the large arteries are there is a very thin tunica adventitia. So this is a high power view of your artery, the tunica intima and media. you cannot find the tunica adventitia. So one of the most important abnormality being encountered in clinical practice is atherosclerosis. It is the most common acquired abnormality in blood vessel. So basically, the lesion develops primarily in the tunica intima of the large elastic vessel after an endothelial injury. So after there is an endothelial injury, what's the next process? Nakalimot na? You discussed that about 2 weeks ago? After there is endothelial injury, there is production of your
Platelet,
superoxide,
an iron.
and then the superoxide would in turn oxidize your LDL. And what's the response of the LDL oxidation? The monocytes, what are they? They differentiate into macrophage and then phagocytize the LDL, oxidized LDL, forming what cells? Foam cells, very good. So foam cells plus your recruitment of your T lymphocytes would form your, which is the initial atherosclerotic lesion. How is it differentiated with fibrofatty plaque? Anybody? So the fibrofatty plaque, there is now the remodeling and growth. There is now migration of your smooth muscle. So if there is now the development of a thick layer of fibrous connective tissue, which with scattered smooth muscle, macrophages, foam cells, T lymphocytes, and deposition of cholesterol crystals, this is now called your atheromatous plaque. So remember those. Remember those terms. So let's now go to the medium-sized arteries. What's the prominent feature of the middle-sized arteries? It has prominent what? Prominent internal elastic lamina. So as well as the tunica adventitia is thicker in comparison to that of the larger arteries or the elastic artery. What is that structure? What? What structure is that? Vasa vasorum. It is an arterial supply to the artery. That's vasa vasorum. How about nervi vasorum? Okay. So another view of your middle-sized artery. Take note of the very distinct internal elastic lamina, your tunica media, and your adventitia. Another view. So I think you already have seen this slide. This is elastic staining, in which what are these black structure or dark violet structures? These are the elastic fibers. So for the small arteries, usually it is about 0.1 to 2 millimeters in size, and it contains 8 to 10 layers of smooth muscle. So what is this? Identify structure. Is it an artery or a vein? How about this one? How about that one? So an arteriole has basically 1 to 2 layers of smooth muscle. That's how you differentiate it with artery, small artery. So this can be found in your textbook. This is a very nice table to differentiate your large, middle, small, and arteries as well as your arterial and capillaries. So as I've said or emphasized earlier, your middle or muscular artery has prominent internal elastic membrane. Your small artery has lesser layers of smooth muscle, about 8 to 10. And for your arteriole, your smooth muscle is about 1 to 2 cell layers. How about your capillaries? None. So it is just composed of your endothelium plus your basement membrane or basal lamina. So this is the smallest vessel, the capillary. It is composed of your endothelium and basal membrane. What is its function? Fluid, gas exchange, metabolites, waste product. What else? Basically, that's nutrients. So be sure to differentiate the 3 types of your capillaries: the continuous type as well as the examples: continuous, fenestrated, and discontinuous or sinusoidal type. However, in the laboratory, unfortunately, we don't have these specimens. So what are pericytes? So be sure to know what are pericytes. Let's now go to the vein. So basically, the vein has larger diameter, larger lumen, thinner wall with no distinct boundaries in comparison to the size of that of the arteries. So it still has the tunica intima, tunica media, but the thickest layer is the tunica adventitia. So this is your vein and this is your artery. So in veins, one of the distinct characteristics in comparing a vein with an artery is that the vein contains valves. But usually in the slides, we cannot appreciate the valves. What are the function of the valves? It prevents retrograde movement of blood against gravity. So in comparison to that of artery, in which the vasa vasorum is found in the adventitia and extends into the tunica media, the vasa vasorum extends more deeply into the media or the intima. So one of the important clinical correlate of veins is the deep veins of your lower extremities, which are the sites for deep vein thrombosis. This is associated with immobilization, orthopedic procedures, long flights, and cancer. Why is it fatal, your DVT? Because it can form thrombus and it can throw an emboli towards the pulmonary circulation. I emphasize this with my group that basically your pulmonary embolism can't develop into systemic, cannot throw systemic emboli to the systemic circulation. Why is that? Somebody from group 11? So the emboli will only lodge to the pulmonary arteries. It's because it can be stuck up in your pulmonary circulation. But there is such thing as your it can still develop systemic emboli, but in conditions such as Alex, if there is a shunt or there is, for example, patent for foramen ovale, that's what you call paradoxical emboli. Basically, it's not normal for a systemic emboli to develop coming from your deep veins or DVT. But in the presence of shunts, cardiac shunts, then that's the only probable explanation for that, in which there is the development of your paradoxical development of your systemic emboli. So, what is this structure? Arteriole. How about this one? Venual. Very good. So, this table is from your book. It also has the differentiation between your middle size artery, your vein, small vein, and the venule, as well as your large vein. Take note of the size and diameter and certain characteristic of each one. So this table summarizes the difference between your artery and your vein. So for the overall diameter, your arteries are smaller, the veins are bigger. For the lumen shape, it is smaller and regular, in comparison to that of your vein, which is bigger and irregular. For the coats or the layers, it is better demarcated in your arteries and less demarcated in your veins. For the tunica intima, it is relatively thicker in the arteries and thinner in veins. And internal elastic lamina is prominent in the arteries, particularly your middle-sized artery or your muscular artery. And for the abundant component, your arteries is mostly composed of smooth muscle and elastic fibers. For your veins, it is commonly made up of fibrous or collagenous tissue. For the thickest coat, it is a tunica media in the arteries and adventitia in the veins. For the valves, there are no valves in your arteries and they are present in your veins. Vasa vasorum, I emphasized this earlier that it is found basically in your adventitia but reaches the media only. But in veins, it can extend up to your tunica intima. Blood flow is more rapid and with higher pressure, and in veins, it is lower and low pressure. And for nutrition, it is basically, it diffuses over long distances because of the pressure. And for the vein, it only reaches short distances. So for the special circulation, we have the AV shunt and the portal systems. What are AV shunts? Where can it be found? So they are basically a connection between your arteries or arterioles and your venules, which does not pass or bypasses your capillaries. So it can be found in your examples: fingertips, nose, lips, erectile tissue in your penis and clitoris. What's the purpose of the AV shunt? For thermoregulation. Once it opens, blood flows into the shunt and not in capillaries. That's why it conserves heat. So there's no walay release of heat. However, when it closes, the blood flow will go into your capillaries, thus releases the heat. So for the portal system, how do you define a portal system? Again? You're right. So there is blood flow through a second capillary network before it returns to the heart. So capillary, blood vessel, capillary, before it reaches the heart. So examples for these are one is your hepatic portal system. So basically, the blood coming from your intestine, capillaries from your intestine, from the spleen, goes into your portal vein, and then after which it goes into your liver sinusoids. This is the second capillary. And then it drains into your hepatic vein. What's the purpose of passing through the hepatic sinusoids? For absorption of nutrients, before it goes back to your vena cava. So another example of this is your hypophysioportal system. So the capillaries in the hypothalamus continues with the hypophysioportal system, which is a plexus of small veins found in your pituitary stalk. So this one. Before it ramifies into sinusoids in the anterior pituitary gland. What's the purpose of this? Why does it has to pass with the pituitary stalk before it reaches the anterior pituitary gland? Basically, it allows releasing factors or hormones secreted in the hypothalamus to be carried downstream to activate the endocrine cells of your anterior pituitary gland. So more gihapon siya absorption of or incorporation of the certain hormones as well as factors before it reaches your pituitary gland. So another example is your rete mirabile. Where can this be found? Where can you find the afferent and efferent arterioles? In the kidneys, glomerulus. So basically, your rete mirabile is a capillary network intercalated in a path of artery. So it is still kibali ano siya, artery, capillaries, artery before it goes back again to the circulation. So the afferent arteriole breaks up to form a spherical mass of capillaries, which is your glomerulus. So from your afferent arteriole, it breaks up into the glomerulus before it passes into your afferent arteriole. So another special circulation is the uteroplacental circulation. So basically, the fetus receives blood from your umbilical arteries. They are 2 in numbers, if you remember. So from the maternal circulation, and this is being there is now the capillary network in between your villi, in which the fetus would absorb the nutrients from the mother, and then the waste product as well as the deoxygenated blood is carried away from the fetus back to the maternal circulation through your, what's this? Umbilical vein. So that's why in your slide, in the umbilical cord, there are 2 umbilical arteries and 1 umbilical vein. So let's now go to the atypical blood vessels. Why is coronary arteries atypical? In comparison to that of a regular medium-sized artery, the smooth muscle is thicker. So how about your dural venous sinuses? Why is it atypical also? Anybody? So basically, it is a broad space within the dura mater, which is lined by your endothelial cells. However, it is devoid of your smooth muscle. That's why it is atypical. So your great saphenous vein, why is it a typical vein? It is a superficial vein which is there is an unusual amount of smooth muscle. So thicker gihapon ang iyang tunica media. What's the importance of your great saphenous vein? So it is being harvested as for autotransplantation used in coronary artery bypass graft. How about your central adrenomedullary vein? Why is it atypical? It's because of the arrangement of the tunica media as the vein passes through the adrenal medulla. Instead of the usual circular arrangement, it has a longitudinal arrangement of the smooth muscle, forming the muscle cushion in your adrenomedullary part. That's why it is atypical. Instead of the circular, it is longitudinally arranged muscle. So we're almost done. We're on our last topic, the lymphatics. So the lymphatic vascular system is more permeable than the capillaries and collects protein-rich fluid. It also conveys large proteins and lipid molecules from the small intestine. And before it goes back into the circulatory system, it passes through the lymph nodes, in which the lymph or the fluid being absorbed from the lymphatic system is exposed to cells of the immune system. So, how does lymphatic capillaries would organize in comparison to capillaries? It has endothelial lining, endothelium. However, it lacks your basement membrane or your basal lamina. What are these? Ano siya? So basically, your lymphatic system has many flap-like valves, and there are such thing as your anchoring filaments. What is the function of which? Anybody? Wala na mo kaabot-ubasa nila. So it helps maintaining the patency of the lymphatic vessels because it is devoid of smooth muscle. So the filaments would somehow maintain the patency of the lymphatic vessels. So in the laboratory, you will be reviewing the heart as well as the aorta, and then you will be, in addition to that, you will be drawing the medium-sized artery, and you will be reviewing also the special staining for the elastic artery, as well as you will be viewing slides for veins and small arteries. So any questions? None? If none, I would like to end my correlate and good luck on your exam tomorrow.